This is Trey's team. And that's nothing against Jimmy. We made that decision a year ago, and we're going with that. And we're not going to mess around with that anymore. And I don't think we really have messed around with that much, but once we made that decision, we did. And Jimmy understands that fully. He's a big guy, and it's nothing against him either. That's a business decision, and that's what makes it not awkward. Yeah, it's tough, but there's contracts or stuff that you have to do, and that's when I feel like we're doing that as good as we can. And that is possible because of the type of guy Jimmy is and the type of relationship we have and the circumstances. Everyone, I think if you look at it, you can see why it got to this with the surgery and when it happened, and we understand it, and it'll take care of itself. But Jimmy knows we're going with Trey, Trey knows we're going with Trey, and our team does. So and everyone likes both the guys, so it is what it is.
Kyle Shanahan with that completely unsuspicious, lustrous head of jet black hair. Woo! Talking about Trey Lance. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the elephant in the room. We don't see the guy for 6 months, and he shows up looking like Johnny Cash. Come on, man.
Well, he's got great hair. I don't know what to say. I mean, look at his dad. His dad's got a full head of hair, and he's, up there.
I'm not saying anything about the thickness. I'm talking about the color.
Oh, I could tell you my friend would never color his hair. I could tell you that. I could tell you.
He was coloring the beard at one point. He experimented with coloring the beard, and he ditched that. I'm telling you, that ain't normal black. Well, that ain't natural black. Take it from someone who once experimented with coloring his own hair, and I don't now.
Yeah, I'm going to take it from someone who doesn't know a lot about hair, and you don't work at a salon, okay? And if my friend If he is dyeing his hair, first off, he would dye the sideburns that have gray there. Like, I don't think he would do that.
Well, no, he left a little. He left a little gray for effect. There's a little streak on top. I'm telling you, that ain't real.
If I find out that his hair is being dyed and it's that color, I promise you, I'm gonna make fun of him to his face on this show, and I'll never stop. I promise you. I just would be shocked. I don't think he'd do that.
I'll find the photograph also of the period of time when that beard was black from ear to ear. But nevertheless, this is about Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Okay, so it's Trey's team. We're not going to mess around with that anymore. Good. And they acted like they didn't mess around with it much. Yes, they did. When the owner is out there talking about how Steve Young sat on the bench for 4 years and maybe Trey will do that, yes, they did mess around with it. They were trying to play this game. They were going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo because that was part of their leverage to get the trade package they wanted. Because, look, if you act like you don't want to trade the guy, you can get more for him from somebody who really wants him. If you don't want to keep the guy, it's harder to get what you really want, unless you've got 4 teams chasing him like the Texans did with Deshaun Watson. They finally realized how asinine that was, and I give Kyle credit from the Tim Kawakami podcast. We played it yesterday. If you watched the show yesterday, you knew where this was going because Shanahan already said so. They are not going to keep Jimmy Garoppolo on that team. He's going to be gone by week 1, and if they can't trade him, they're going to cut him. He passed his physical last night. The $7.5 million injury guarantee goes away. His salary is completely unguaranteed unless he's on the roster week 1. He's not going to be on the roster week 1. They're going to cut him if they can't trade him. He's apparently on board with it. Good for the 49ers. They screwed around with this for too long, Chris. Smart move to go into this training camp with nothing to drag down Trey Lance. He's your guy. These mixed signals were not going to help him become who he needs to be to justify the draft pick, to justify the trade, to put themselves in position to make the draft pick. Smart move by the 49ers to go all in with Trey Lance.
Yeah, right. I mean, all of it. I mean, just the questions from the media, just the Jimmy Garoppolo presence and that conversation constantly hovering over the football team. You say what you want. It's annoying. It's a distraction. It takes away from the team's ability to kind of focus on what they need to focus on, let alone Trey Lance. So I'm very happy, too, as a guy that roots for the 49ers because of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. I want to see them do well, and I think this is a big step. You know, I don't fault them. You know, I'm with you. I thought it was dangerously close a little bit in the spring at times to going, man, this is, you know, you're making life hard on yourselves out there in San Francisco by, you know, confusing or at least adding some fuel to this conversation with Garoppolo and everything out there. But I think, you know, I'm not going to fault them for taking their shot and trying to make it happen. I'm glad, like you're saying, they're finally abort mission. We're not going to get what we wanted for Jimmy Garoppolo unless something miraculous happens around the league here in the next month. And let's just start to frame our team around Trey Lance and get everybody to buy into that, the fan base included. And this is the new lifeline of the 2022 49ers. I think it's the right approach, and I'm glad to see they're doing it.
And they're going to keep him out of practice, even though he's been cleared, because if he gets injured, if he has something happen, if he's one of the guys that gets lost for the year in training camp, $25 million becomes guaranteed if he's on season-ending injured reserve. So it sounds like they're all on the same page. We'll get to that in a second. For now, though, the idea of removing the guy from the mix that all the players love. Here's George Kittle and other 49ers teammates talking about the new guy that they better learn to love because Trey Lance is taking over.
I can't wait. I think that's a great idea. I think I've had pretty good success with every quarterback that I've played with so far here.
I mean, I don't make those decisions, so she just told me that. They told me that Kyle said that before I walked in here, so I wasn't blindsided. But I guess that's what we know now. And I love Jimmy, love Trey. Like I said, I don't make those decisions, so if that's the decision they're deciding to make, we're all with it.
It's nice that Kyle came out and finally said it publicly, but I felt like we all kind of felt that and saw that in OTAs and whatnot. So it's not too much of a shocker or a new thing, but definitely excited for Trey and excited for us.
Trey definitely brings a completely different dynamic to the football field than anything I've played with before, so I'm looking forward to it. His progress from being a rookie day one of OTAs last year through training camp, through the season, and then through OTAs this last couple months he's gotten better. I mean, I can see that, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. Like, he has gotten better. If he stunk, I'd tell you guys he stunk. He doesn't. But he's gotten better, and he's going to continue to progress. And I think the more games that Trey plays, the better he's going to get. And it's just going to be up to us to be around him and to help him out as best we can.
What relieved that this season you won't be getting asked Jimmy or Trey?
I bet you one of you guys still asks me. I put money on it. I don't know. You never know. You guys are crazy out there.
Yeah, George Kittle was at the center of this conversation for over a year because he was the one who was most clearly supportive of Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, they really did take a hell of a risk last year, and they almost got to the Super Bowl. And here's the problem. If they had gotten to the Super Bowl, could they have moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo?
I don't know. That'd have been interesting, especially if they won it. I'd say no, they couldn't have. They'd probably have to stay with Jimmy Garoppolo one more year. Getting there to the Super Bowl, I don't know. I mean, I would think that would sway things in his favor. But if he misses a few big throws like he did against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, that might be enough, too, to go, okay, yeah, you got us to the Super Bowl. But damn, we've seen two of them now, and you can't make the 4 or 5 throws that we need to win it. So I don't know. It'd be interesting. I think it would have to have probably been a Super Bowl win altogether. But either way, this is a good thing. Again, I know Shanahan said, hey, Trey knows it, Jimmy knows it, the team knows it. No, the team didn't know it, definitely. We saw Eric Armstead there say he was told on the way in. I'm sure guys on the defensive side of the ball, they had a clue that it's going that way, but they were probably still wondering, how Shanahan's going to deal with this. How's it going to work out in training camp? So this kind of puts finality to it. And I think it's a good thing. And now it just can be focused on Trey and what he can do for the offense. And like George Kittle said, I don't expect it to be perfect quarterback-wise compared to Jimmy Garoppolo. There's going to be some mistakes and some interceptions, some missed throws. But I do think with his vast skill set and then you couple that with Shanahan and the talent they have in that offense, that they can have an offense that is more dangerous than it's been with Jimmy Garoppolo. It might not be always as consistently working machine, but I think it could be more dangerous, which could lead to being a better football team ultimately when it comes December and January.
George Kittle said as to Trey Lance, he's gotten better. If he stunk, I'd tell you guys he stunk. Would he really tell us that?
No, he would
though?
not.
He
would
wouldn't
not
tell us that.
Because there's a lot of people out there last year that told me privately that Trey Lance stunk in training camp and early on. They said it. and they weren't coming out and publicly saying that. They know that. He's the crown jewel of the 49ers organization. I don't care who you are. If you're George Kittle making $16 million a year or whatever, you know that that's the prized possession of Shanahan and Lynch. They're not going to say anything bad about him. They know how delicate that conversation is.
And here's the other reality. They fell out of love with Jimmy Garoppolo for one primary reason. They couldn't count on him to stay healthy. So what happened last year when Trey Lance started a game? He injured his knee.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that we need to be cognizant of. Right. Can he stay healthy?
Big question.
And you don't know what a guy's durability is going to be at the NFL level, especially when he played at North Dakota State. No offense to North Dakota State, but that's not the highest level of college football. So he hasn't really been in that physical grind. Last year, 2 starts, 2 injuries. Knee against the Cardinals, finger against the Texans. That's an important consideration as well, and they better feel pretty good about their backup because chances are they're going to need him at some point.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the things that scared me about Trey Lance. I mean, as much as he's got the big-time talent and some things you really like, yes, I'm still not sold on his throwing. I'm not, and I do look at the arm fatigue. That conversation is something to look out for with his motion. I can understand the arm fatigue happening, but the health is real too. Again, it's similar to another North Dakota State quarterback. All right, Carson Wentz. One of the things when he came out in the draft, my number one worry about him was injuries. Why? He was a safety. He went there at North Dakota State to play safety. I don't know if he's really, that all-encompassing natural quarterback that way. So he had that a little bit of a physical nature to him. And he showed that at North Dakota State. And, yeah, didn't get hurt. But to your point, you're not playing the same type of talent week in and week out and doing that. And we've seen what happened with his career. And I do worry about that with Trey Lance. And guess what Trey Lance was? He was a guy that nobody in college football wanted to play quarterback. They wanted him to play safety in the secondary. So that's where I do question how natural he is at some of that stuff, sliding, get out in a dangerous way, because I think he has a little bit of that mentality of, let me lower the shoulder. I'm a safety. I can hit this guy too, and that doesn't really bode well for a starting NFL quarterback.
Boy, that would be the ultimate irony if they get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo because he can't stay healthy and they replace him with a guy who can't stay healthy. But we'll see.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.